Okay, so like I said before, what we need to do is basically make it so that it keeps the controller from going up and down. All right, so I basically figured out that it is in 12 units Y. So what I'm going to do is set up another if-else setup here and go from there. Okay, so we're going to do another if. We're going to say the transform.position.y. Okay, so it's the this is dot notation. So basically, the idea is that position is one of the what do you call it? One of the things of transform, and y is of sub one of that. So position.y, which we're going to say if that is greater than 12.5, okay, then what we're going to do is what's inside of here. Okay, we're also going to do another if and get that figured out as well. So, all right. So this is going to be if, and then we're going to say if the transform.position.y is less than negative 12.5, okay, then obviously we want it to do this. And this is actually going to be relatively simple, and I can just copy and paste it too. We're just going to transform.position. We're just going to set the position dot y. We're going to assign it the value of 12.5. So basically, if it's above it, just push it right back to where it was. And then just put a semicolon in there. And I'm just going to copy this. Okay, Command C. All right, and Command V. All right, Tab. So if either one of these things are true, and this is going to be negative. So if it's so basically it's going to set it to that. All right, and then we'll just save that. I'm going to go in here. All right, it's going to give me something it doesn't like. Oh, see how it says position? So position. So you can see I misspelled position here. So we got to, doesn't take a lot to mess this up. All right, save that again. Come back here, see if it gives me an error. Good. Now I'll hit play, and you'll see when I go up and down, right? See, it won't go above or below that number that we decided on, okay? So that's good. All right, so now the player controller is working, all right? Now, if I need to adjust the speed, all I got to do is go to my player where I had dropped that script onto, and I can change the speed here. So if I make this, let's say, 25, you're going to see that this controller moves much faster now, okay? So it's just a matter of what speed you want. I just went with 10 because that just seemed like the appropriate amount. Okay, 10. All right. And all right, so now we need to make the ball. So I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. We can right click and go 3D object, sphere, and go game object, 3D object, sphere. There's a bunch of ways to do things, but we'll just do a sphere. That's gonna be our ball. I'm gonna zero out the positional data here, so it's just 0, tab 0, tab 0. All right, so that puts it in the center here. Great. So that's working out nicely. Let's see. I'm going to need to rename it for one. Okay, let's do later. Try tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna name it ball for obvious reasons. Oh, actually, gotta capitalize that. Ball, and we're gonna go ahead and add a physics component to it because we're gonna use the physics in order to drive the ball. So we'll go ahead and do that. We can uncheck gravity. Well, we'll leave gravity on because it's good for an example, okay? So what we're going to do is also constrain this so it doesn't have weird things happen to it. I don't want it to go all over the place. So basically, I want to freeze the position on Z because I don't want it to, right now, I want it to go back and forth this way, but I don't want it to go depth because otherwise I might miss one of these, okay? So we're going to freeze position Z, but I do want it to be able to go up and down and left and right. So X and Y will leave. And then the rotations, we're going to get rid of X and Y, all right? So that Z, because if I hit E for rotate, you'll see that Z is the this way, which I'm okay with it rotating that direction, okay? Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create, down in here, I'm going to go to my assets, back up a little bit, go to physics material, right-click, create, and I'm going to go to physics material. And we're just going to go ahead and rename this. Come on. Let me rename you. There we go. We're going to name it Ball Fizz MAT, we'll say. Okay. So up here, I just had tested a bunch of numbers, so I got something that I liked. So basically, I came up with 0.4, tab 0.4. Actually, let me just show you what it looks like first so you get an idea. 0.6, tab 0.6. And if I'm going to make real quick, I'm going to make a cube. We'll zero it out. You don't have to do this. I just want to show you something. 0, tab 0, tab 0. We'll move this down, and I'm just going to scale it this way real quick. Okay. So now if I were to hit play, you're going to see the ball just lands. Okay. Which means when it hits the paddle, it's just going to kind of hit it and get stuck. That's not really what I want to happen. I want it to bounce. So by adding this physics material, and I do 0.4, 0.4, take the bounciness, make that 1. Okay, because I want it super bouncy. The friction combine them, make average, and then the bounce combine them, do maximum. Now watch when I hit play. Now, it's going to just do that. And the reason why is because I didn't actually apply the material to it yet. So go back to the ball and drop and drag this onto right here where it says material underneath the sphere collider. Now if I hit play, you'll see it'll bounce indefinitely. And it's not losing any momentum due to friction. Okay, so yay. I'm going to turn off use gravity. I don't actually need that. I just put that in there so I could demonstrate that for you. So I'm going to turn that off of the ball. Okay, so we did that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need to make the bottom and top boundaries, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab this cube. Kind of jumped ahead just to show you that. And we're just going to call this boundary bottom. Okay, which is fine. And I'm going to put in game here. And I just kind of make sure that it's large enough. So we'll say it needs to be roughly, scale looks like 40 for that scale. Or we'll just go 50 just to make sure it's enough. And then the position of it needs to be just out of frame. So we'll say 15.5. Okay, so minus 15.5. And that looks good. So the other thing I'm going to do is turn off the mesh renderer. Basically, you'll see when I turn that off, oops, it makes it no longer visible. Okay, it's just a save, processing power. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it by Command D. This one's got to go up. Obviously, this is going to have to go in positive 15.5. All right, and we need to rename this one boundary. Come on, there we go. And this is going to be boundary top. Okay, beauteous. All right, so we got our top boundary, got a bottom boundary, and that should all be pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and make the other boundaries too. So I'm just going to make another cube, create empty, 3D object cube, and we'll call this, what is this going to be called? Hang on a second, what do I want to call it? I'm going to call it, I guess just boundary left. So boundary left, and we need to scale this however much we need. So let's go over here, Command Z. Make sure this is all zeroed out, which I didn't do yet. So 0, tab 0, tab 0. But we need to scale this. So R, and it needs to be roughly 30. Okay, because I just know. So we'll do 30. That gets us enough. And then position, I need to move it back to the left, and that's going to be roughly negative 20.5. So minus 20.5. All right, and I will again turn the mesh render off, and I'll duplicate this, Command D. All right, Command D, and I'll put this on the opposite side, which would then be 20.5. Great, and that all looks great. And this needs to be renamed boundary right. Okay, and I'm going to go to create empty, and I just want to make an empty group, which apparently, there we go. And we're just going to rename this boundary _GRP, just so I know it's a group. And I'm just going to take this one and this one, drop them on there. I'm going to grab these two as well, drop them also on there, just so they're all nicely stacked together. Makes things a little bit easier for me. Okay. So you can see there's our walls and stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and get this ball rolling here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to project here. I'm going to back up, go to my scripts, because I need something that's going to drive this, right? So I'm going to right click, create, and we're going to make a JavaScript. And this is just going to be called the ball script. Beauteous. Open that up, and it's going to give me my typical stuff that you normally see. Great. So let's go ahead and get this going. First thing you always do is, if we want to be able to control them over here, is make some public variables. So I'm going to do variable ball speed. This just obviously controls the speed of the ball. So it's just so that we can dictate how fast we want the ball to move. And I'm just going to, by default, because I already have played around with this, say it's going to be 65. Probably do 65.0 is like a more correct way. But I'm going to make it a float, which just means that I can have a decimal point. Okay, so variable ball speed. And another one we're going to need is, we're not going to need it quite yet, is a variable game control. You know what? We'll leave that alone for now. We'll come back to that. But we will need something else too. It's a good idea to comment what these are. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and say, this controls the speed of the ball. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do the function start. And what we want it to do is that when the ball the start happens as soon as the game starts, we want it so that the ball doesn't shoot right off the bat. I want to give the player a couple seconds before so they can get their wits about them, right? So I'm going to go tab, and I'm just going to say wait for 2 seconds before ball shoots. Okay? And then in this code, it's going to be yield, and this is just a thing I know, wait for seconds, seconds, and I'm going to have it wait for 2 seconds. All right? And then what it's going to do, as soon as because it runs from the top down, it's going to do this, and it's going to do the next line of code. So once it goes and it waits for the 2 seconds, it's going to go ahead and write the start ball, start ball function. Okay, that we haven't made yet, but I'm going to make that. All right. All right. All right, okay. So here's going to be our custom function. There we go. So we're going to make a new one, and it's going to be function start ball, and it's not going to require any parameters. Okay, and then we just need to have brackets that encapsulate it. All right. So basically, we're going to have this do is we're going to have it randomly find a number between 0 and 1. Okay. The reason we need to do that is that we need to either shoot to the left or to the right. So basically, it's got an option of, we're just going to use 0 and 1 to make that decision. Okay. So to find that number, we're actually going to go ahead and attach it to the variable. So random number, and we're going to assign that the random dot range, and for some reason it has to be between 0 and 2. I don't really honestly know why. 0 and 2. So it's going to find a number between 0 and up to 2. Good. And then what we're going to do is this. We're going to say if the number is less than or equal to 0.5, meaning if it's on the one side of that scale, we're going to have it do this. So we're going to say if random number is less than or equal to 0.5, okay. If it's less than or equal to 0.5, it's going to run this bit of code, which basically means shoot it in the one direction. So we're going to have it, the code's going to apply a force in a positive direction, meaning to the right. Okay.